Do you get excited when you get your free stamp of the month? And then next thing you know, you have it in your stash and you haven't created a single thing with it. Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you how to create these beautiful cards with the July 2023 stamp of the month. Hi there, I'm Julie, and in today's video, we're going to use this awesome stamp set. I don't know about you, but this stamp set is super cute, and I was pretty excited to use it. Now, we are going to complete 3 cards. I will bring in this stitch rectangle die. It is a retired die, but I'm sure you have something in your stash. And basically what I'm doing is I'm cutting 2 of each color. So 2 in the white, I don't need the white frame, and 2 in the black. Now, the primary reason why I did this is I really didn't want to fussy cut the little antennas and little legs from that bee, and using a die works perfectly. We are going to use the negative piece from the black, and this piece right here measures 3 1/4 by 4 1/2, and we're going to use those to finish off the inside of our cards. I'm pretty excited to share with you today this really cool slimline card. Now, this is a Cricut Design Space file, and it will be linked down in the description box below. It's free for you to use. Let's get started on these cards today. We're going to be using intense black ink today because we are using Spectrum Noir markers, and the colors that I'm using today are Citrus Blend, Gold Yellow, Burnt Orange, and True Blue. And we know that we need to use intense black ink. I'm going to introduce a little bit of Capri, Sundance, and Honey Butter. Let's get started with the slimline card because that's the one that's going to require a little bit more work. So we're going to take these panels away on the side. I am going to bring in the inside panels right here for these 2 cards because the technique I'm doing on this back panel is going to be repeated for the inside just to give it a little bit of interest. So basically I have white cardstock and black cardstock, and we're going to do a little bit of ink smushing. Now I'm going to put a little bit of honey butter on my all-purpose mat, and I'm going to add water. And quite a bit of water, and I'm just using white daisy cardstock. I'm going to bring in just a little plastic bag, like just regular packaging. I'm going to sneak my hand in here, and I'm going to start with this one just to see how much water I have, which is pretty good. So see how fast that is? That is in real time. I'm going to add a little bit here. This is just for my inside pieces, just like so. I'm going to scooch these to the side. I'm going to do the same thing here with the Sundance ink. Squish it into the all-purpose mat, add a little bit of water, use my handy little bag here. And as you can see, this technique is super easy, but it's very effective, and it just gives that extra dimension to the back of the slimline card and the inside panels. So we're going to add a tiny little bit here in the inside panels. I don't want those to be too dark, so I'm just going to use what's left on my mat. And then I'm just going to scooch these to the side, and I think I want to add a little bit more ink. So I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending, and you kind of have to go softly because they are still wet. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this panel. I'm just going to let it dry, and then these ones here are going to go on the inside of our cards, just like so. So then you can stamp your sentiments. I've got this one here and this one here. So we're going to set those aside. We're going to let them dry. So we're going to start with the slimline card. I've gone ahead in Cricut Design Space and I created all of this. I also stamped my bee and my sentiment, and in Design Space you will have access to this entire panel, minus the stamping of course. Just check the description box down below. It cuts these hexagon exactly where they need to go. Plus I added that really cool detail with a Cricut pen. So that's a really easy way to do this card. You can totally reproduce this card using hexagon dies. I just don't seem to have them in my stash, believe it or not. You will need a couple of pieces of acetate. You don't need to cover the entire backside right here, so I'm going to put 2 pieces here. And I found that using just liquid glass works really, really great when you want to adhere down those little acetate pieces. I'm going to pull off the protector sheet and just adhere these down. I love the way that this is turning out. So next step is to color in the bee. So we're going to do some basic coloring with a few Spectrum Noir markers. Let's go through some of the coloring together. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm starting off with the body. I'm using Citrus Blend in the dark shade right in the center of the body. And then I'm adding gold yellow in the light shade, and I'm pulling that to the side. And then I'm coming back right here with the medium blend of that gold yellow, and I'm just going on each side and a little bit at the bottom. Right here I'm adding one more coat of the citrus yellow, and I'm kind of going into little circular motion and just blending all of that in. And that's pretty much it for the body. It's not that big and it's not that difficult to color in. Now for the wings, I decided to make them all blue. And I really like the way it turned out, and you'll see in a moment when I bring in a little bit of ink blending. So this is True Blue in the light shade, and I'm coloring in all of the flowers the same color. And you really have to just like, especially the tiny little ones, you just do a little dot, like they're really, really small. So I'm coming in here now with the medium shade. I'm just adding a little bit of shading around the larger flowers. And then whatever flower I missed, I'm just going to go with the medium shade. And I found that when you do the little ones a little bit darker, it gives a little bit more contrast between the larger ones and the smaller ones. I'm coming back here in with the Citrus Blend in the dark shade, and that looks good because it complements the little body. So now I'm going to bring in the dull green in the medium shade, and again just little dots, like just the tip of your marker, and just hit those little leaves. There's a few of them, they're hard to see, but you can kind of color them in just by doing like dot drawing at this point. Now if you color outside the lines, don't worry about it. We're gonna bring in a fail-proof little technique here. We're gonna add a little bit more blue. I felt that the bee wasn't standing out from the base right here, so I'm going to bring in some Capri ink, and I'm going to start blending in the center. You can see that I'm taking some of the ink off and I'm just blending it out, and look at that, like it just gives it a really nice base. And if you've colored outside the lines, no one's going to see it with this little add-on. Now this next step here, probably shouldn't have put my acetate down right away, but it's okay. I had the negative pieces from the Cricut file, so I'm just going to hide the little windows so they don't get full of ink. Maybe you want to do the splatters before and then put the acetate at the bottom, but you just have to make sure that everything is nice and dry. So I'm just going to continue on here with the intense black ink. I'm going to add a tiny bit of water. And then I'm going to splatter just with a small brush. I just find that adding just a little bit of ink splatters sometimes, it just kind of brings everything together. And for these cards here, it looked really nice. So let's take a look. We'll take the little masks off. We'll flip that over. And if you use the thin 3D foam tape, you will be able to go all around this panel. I made sure when I designed this in Cricut Design Space that I left you enough space to run your thin 3D foam tape. Now you can see here that I'm kind of blocking off little sections where those hexagons are because I don't want to lose all of my beads. So I'm kind of making little sections so that I can just drop the beads where I need them. So there's only one little hexagon here on the side. And then just for good measure, I'm going to add another piece of foam tape right in the center, just to make sure that everything is nice and even. All right, so these are from the dollar store. I have some blue here and I have a little bit of white. And I found that that was a good mix because of the colors we've used at the front. So I'm just going to tap some into those two little spaces. And then I'm going to carefully pull back on all of my 3D foam and make sure that nothing escapes. I can take my panel and I can just line it up. And it's easy enough to line up. If you find that you have difficulty with this, you can trim it down by 1/8 of an inch. And then just make sure that you press firmly where those little windows are so that you don't lose all of your little shaker beads inside. And there you have it. You've got a cute little shaker card. So we're going to put that right onto the black panel. So the black panel does cut out in the Cricut Design Space file. If you want to cut it out, sometimes it's just easier when you have your file open. So this is card number 1. So for card number 2 and 3, I guess I was a little lazy. I didn't want to fussy cut this image. I wasn't in the mood for fussy cutting at all. So I decided that stamping them on a really nice panel where you have a little stitch line was really, really pretty. It was clean and simple, but it looked really, really good. So definitely you're probably going to need to use your Misty because we are using intense black ink. For whatever reason, the intense black ink, it kind of needs a second pass. I guess that's why you can use alcohol markers. Like the properties in this ink make it that it dries kind of fast. So I did go, I think, 2 times for each of the images. And while I had my Misty out, I decided to do card number 3 at the same time. And the little beehive, it's cute when it's centered on the card, but I really liked it when it was a little bit offset. So again, here I'm going to go in with my intense black ink. And you'll see that I actually go in a few times. I think I went in 3 times, only because that little black area, the little opening, you can see where it didn't really stamp properly. So I think I show you 2 times here, but I might have gone 3 times. And I'm really adding a lot of ink right at that place where it's nice and black. So it's just something to be mindful of. It's a lot easier when you have a Misty. So here they are. They're ready to go. I guess if you just did black and white cards, they would look really pretty, but I definitely did not want to fussy cut these guys. And I've got my sentiment here. Everything is just ready to be colored. And this one here, we're using all of the same colors. I'm using all of the same markers, and it just goes faster. I don't know about you guys, but when I make a card, it's like, well, if I'm going to get the supplies out to make 1 card, I might as well make 2 or 3 cards. Now, if you get bored when you make a card and it's the same colors, definitely change it up. Change your flowers. That is definitely something that you can do. But for me, I really like to have that little set of 3 cards. So you can see here that I started again with the citrus blend in the dark. And then I'm coming back in with the gold yellow in the light shade and in the medium shade. This is a big piece to color in. So I did go back, once it was all colored in, I did go back and I added little flick motions with the citrus, and you'll see there at the end that I also go back with the medium gold and I just pull the color through, and once it dries it looks good. So don't be discouraged because it's such a big piece. Like you can see here, I'm kind of fanning out the color. Once it dries back, it looks really, really good. And that yellow against that really pale blue, again, looks really pretty. So I'm doing the same thing here. I'm coloring all of my flowers, and I'm starting with the light shade, and then I'm going in with the medium shade, and I did all the smaller flowers in the medium shade, and I did add a little bit of shading onto those bigger flowers. Definitely with this set, you could go many different ways, add tons of color to your flowers, but I found that by sticking to one color, the process was faster and it looked really nice. Let me know in the comments down below if you prefer a monochromatic scheme or if you think you're going to color all of these in different colors because those flowers are so pretty. But I decided to stick to a monochromatic tone and I really like the look of it. So again, I'm bringing in my little bee and I'm going to show you this one more time. I think I'm zoomed in a little bit more so it might be easier for you to see. Start off with the citrus blend in the dark and then pull or kind of go over and pull out using the gold yellow in the light shade and then come in right at the edge on either end and a little line at the bottom across, and that's in the medium shade. And it's not that difficult. You can see that it's kind of easy just to make it look a little bit rounder. And then if you want to blend it all in, you can come back with a little bit of that citrus blend and just go in small little circular motions and it looks really great. So I'm going to touch up the top right here because that would probably be a little darker. So very much like the other two cards, I'm going to come in here with a little bit of ink blending. I start in the center and I work my way out all along the wings, and I do tap off the extra. I don't want to have it too dark, so I did go in a few times here, but I really like that soft blending around the bee. We're going to do the same thing we did with the slimline card. I'm going to add some splatter, and I thought I might as well do it while they're both out. So when you do yours, now that you've seen all of these, you could probably do all of those steps at the same time. I just separated some of these steps during this process for it to make a little bit more sense for you to see how they come together, but definitely you can do all the ink splatter at the same time, the inking all at the same time. But we're just going to put them together right here and it goes very quickly. So I'm going to add the black frame on the front of my card and you'll see that it really pulls the entire card together just by adding that black frame. So we're going to add the black frame right here and then I'm going to take my panel and I'm going to sneak it in. It fits in there perfectly. So we're going to add our little bee right here. Just going to push it into position and I'm going to take away some of my little glue mess that I have here on the side with my rub and erase. So that looks pretty good. And then let's not forget that piece that we did for the center of the card. I should also mention that if you're enjoying this video, you're going to love watching Chelsey's take on this same stamp set. This is a video collaboration with my very good friend Chelsey, and I am going to link her video down in the description box below and at the end of this one right here. Let's take a look at the completed cards. We started off with this really awesome shaker card right here. Don't forget to grab the free Cricut file. It will be listed in the description down below. I really love the way that this turned out. And then we worked on this one right here where we didn't have to do any fussy cutting. And let's not forget the beautiful inside of this card. We wrapped it all up with this one right here. I really love the way that this creates a really nice set. And when you're working with the same colors and the same images, it goes a little bit faster. Now let's put those stamps of the month to good use and let's dust them off and create awesome cards. That's it for me today. I hope you've enjoyed this process video and I will catch you next time. Bye for now. Want to get notified when I post another project? Click on the notification bell. Want to see Chelsey's project? Click on this link right here.